Sometimes in life we feel ready and other times we don't. But do you know what is important? Is that nonetheless, however we are feeling, whatever is arising, we show up for ourselves. We show up for others. We are aligned to what we're meant to be doing, if we like it or not. Now, for those that have been following these live streams will know I've been doing them daily, and today is no exception. The difference with today, I took some time out. I took Louis to the beach and we had a great day in nature. I had some profound signs, you might say, from the divine in the sky that confirmed some information that was coming to me from divine wisdom. And to be honest with you, it left me quite emotional because I knew when I saw those signs in the sky, they directly spoke to what I was receiving. Hello, Bella. And thank you for reminding me. Thank you for holding me to account because, sometimes we all need encouragement. When you spend a day in the sun, you're really relaxed. And I was just taking some time out and I was communing with the divine. And Bella's message came through. And then the divine reminded me of what I just spoke about, which is sometimes we show up if we feel it or not, because we're meant to. And don't we all have circumstances like that in our lives where we don't feel like it, but we do it anyway because it's who we are. It's what we stand for. And I call it strength in the moment. We find strength not by resisting, but by surrendering. You see, when you surrender, when I surrendered my tiredness, my perhaps lack of drive or enthusiasm, and I just showed up, then perhaps what I'm aligning to is something much greater than myself, because then I can just be the vessel. And I don't really have anything that I particularly thought about coming on and sharing, but perhaps that's not what's important here today. And if you've watched some of these earlier broadcasts, I've spoken about silence. Silence, I've been told, is just as important as the words that hold the authority themselves, that accompany with that, because it's not about just the words. It is about the energy that when you become a vessel, and I got a new mug today, and it keeps my water cool inside for 24 hours apparently. We'll test that out. I saw that and I immediately thought that would be great to have on my desk, something that keeps my water cool so that when I'm talking and I tend to want to drink water while I talk, I can have nice cool water. And I'll have a sip now while I think of it. Hello, Dan. Oh, you asked the question that I got the answer on in detail. The 144,000. Actually, this is synchronicity flowing here. And we've got Bella and Dan. And I know this is a small community. I like that. I like that we're starting small. You know, I've been told what is to come. And this is looking really small at the moment, but it's not going to stay like that. But you know what I'm being given? I'm given this beautiful grace period where the divine is allowing me to get comfortable with everything. Get comfortable, settle into this, get consistency, get a small group of you that can see what's coming through. And then when the time is ready, it will be elevated out. But for now, it's just us. It's just this little group. And Dan has asked the question about the 144,000. And we had a doctor on yesterday on the live stream, and she asked the question about 144,000. It's a part of why I've been emotional, and one of the signs that I saw in the sky, and I won't go into the information because I don't want to include myself in that information. But I was told all about the 144,000 and what it means. And if you bear with me a moment, because I normally print off my notes that I get, but I put it straight into my journal when it came through. And if you bear with me for a moment and you are patient, I'm going to answer what I got about the 144,000 and what it means. It's been distorted, it's been misinterpreted. It hasn't fully been understood. And when divine wisdom comes through me and communicates through me, I'm not special, by the way, and I'll teach you how to do this if you stay around for this journey, because we all have access. I'm not a channel. I don't use that word. I'm a vessel for divine wisdom to flow through me. And you know what? It was said to me today. It was so beautiful. I'm closer than your breath, Paul. I'm closer than your breath. I don't channel. It's closer than that. It's closer than the breath. It's closer than the mouth that can channel. You know what I'm saying? This is oneness with the divine. And we all have that choice that we can make to become one, to be aligned with. So no, you don't have to go to an intermediary, an intercessory, go and see someone that channels a group of entities. You have a much better connection yourself to divinity itself. And I will never get on here and tell you I'm special because I'm getting this. I'm just available. The one thing I am is available. And tonight I didn't feel available. I was tired. You know, I've been doing these for the last 6 days and also organizing a retreat in Maui. And I've been working 14-hour days earlier in the week, and I've had a little bit more time the last few days. But my body does still, particularly when you lie in the sun for a long time and you take in that energy, you do feel very relaxed. But I want to share the 144,000 because I was up last night late conversing, because that's what it's like. It's a conversation with the divine. And I was asking what it meant, and I took some notes on that, and I'm finding them now. And it's a really important teaching. So I will make sure that I read it to you. I'm just reading some of your questions while I'm locating the notes. I would like to think I'm always connected to the divine. my seeking gets in the way. I'm always seeking something or someone. I was a seeker too. I can't pronounce your name. Samara, I think it is. I was a seeker as well. And most people in what we call the spiritual community or the metaphysical community, we are spiritual seekers. When I had this recent awakening experience that happened 3 weeks ago, I went from a lifelong seeker to someone that had found. And now the seeking stops. Does doubt arise occasionally? Of course it does, because often doubt, I was told this, doubt is the final layer when you're about to completely break through. Doubt comes to try to pull you back into the ordinary, the predictable. And that is actually a normal part of the process that we all face. The great teachers throughout had that. I even thought that Jesus had that because in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus said, "May this cup pass from me," because he knew the weight of what was ahead. And we know what that was, that event that he went through. And then he said, "But not my will, thy will be done." He wasn't in a moment of regret because I asked. It was a moment of feeling the weight of responsibility. He could feel the weight of the mission. He could feel the intensity of it. And for a moment he conversed as he was conversing with, in language he used the term his father, although it's mother too, it's father, it's human language that is pointing so that people would understand, particularly in the context of the time. And what I try to do is I use wording and language that is more relatable for this time. And people often feel that we personify the divine too much, and I'm of that way of thinking as well, is that this divine force surpasses identity, it surpasses form, it surpasses all of that stuff. It's just a label. But back to the example, he felt the weight of responsibility. That's different than doubting. That is different than questioning. To feel the weight. And sometimes I feel the weight. Hi, Mia. I think you are a new person. Let me read your comment. They say that the deepest level we all are is always divine, complete or enlightened, and that's a question mark. Is it just a state of being, of innocence, when we haven't awakened? Please expound upon that. Thank you so much. Let me just read that again so I'm making sure I'm we, at our deepest level, we are all divine. We are aspects, individual sparks of divine essences. And what makes you divine is your ability to choose and your free will. That is one of the most sacred aspects, because love cannot exist without freedom and choice. Otherwise, it's servitude, right? You're even when I was making the decision to align with doing this live tonight, when I ask the divine, it's never you must do this. It's always an invitation. There's always an option, because love does never force. It never points the finger and say you must do that. It will encourage, it will guide, but it will never demand. And I want to get into that question of the 144,000. And just as I'm doing that, I'm being guided to some earlier notes, or later notes rather, that I wrote. And I just feel it's, before I get to that, I want to talk about it, because I asked this, and I take a lot of notes, so I have to go through quite a lot of information to get to them. So bear with me. And we're opening silence. Love is unconditional, Dan says. And yes, I will get to your question, Dan. I really want to answer that. And, it's going to be a long it's going to be a long teaching. And there's so much in it. And I want to talk about, I never struggle now for what I talk about. I used to really, those that have known my journey, I've done this for over 5 years. I would research, and I wouldn't have any idea really where to start. There was so much to sort of cover, but I never felt in the flow. And now that all of this original information has come through me, there's I actually have to stop and pause and consider taking time, because there is so much to share with you. There is so much to correct that has been taught to us for thousands of years, that has been distorted, that needs to be corrected with other teachings throughout history, modern teachings. And there's just almost not enough time to do it all. So maybe my live streams will eventually turn into 2 hours. Who knows? I'm not committing to that, by the way. I'm not committing to 2 hours. But if it arises that way, it's meant to. And I apologize for not being as organized, because normally I've got everything organized with my printed notes. And I decided in about 2 minutes before I came on that I was going to go on. Hence, I've got a hat on. I'm very casual looking today. I wasn't going to say today, during this live stream. I'm very casual during this live stream. No preparation. So we're really just going on the fly here. And there's a fly that just flew past the moment I said we're on the fly. How synchronistic was that? Interesting. And I'm just going back because it's important. I tend to ask a lot of questions and I get a lot of answers. So I have to flick through my journal here that I put all of the information into. But it was important because it really touched me when I read it. But my question was this: is how do we live more in alignment? How do we live what you would call with integrity and honor? And what came through was more about alignment than do's and don'ts. See, religion has taught us all the do's and don'ts. And even when Jesus walked the earth, he observed people that were religious, and they would like to show their religiousness. And he actually called them hypocrites. You know, they would make it obvious when they fasted so that everybody would see them. And I thought about that. I thought, wow, how disruptive, because I spoke against organized religion the other day, and I don't normally so publicly criticize. It's just interesting when I was reading that, and then I was reminded that even Jesus saw the hypocrisy and spoke out against the hypocrisy of the religion of the time that he was born into. I thought that was interesting. This is deep. Oh, hello, Breakdance Cat. I haven't seen you before. We've got some new faces in here. I knew you were coming, so it's nice to see you arrive. And I want to let you know, when I do these, they're much more structured than today, but I am sort of going on the fly. And the fly, as I say that, the fly is flying around my studio. Let me read this. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we don't give up. Who feels like giving up? Maybe that is what this is about, and I'll get to the 144,000. Maybe you felt weary in good, doing good, and you felt like you've been putting all of the effort in and you feel like giving up. Maybe that's the theme of today, is about not giving up. This is what the divine said to me today as I quickly wrote this down before this live. Even when you feel unsure, Paul, your presence matters. Even when you feel tired, your voice is needed. Sometimes the most powerful moments come when we show up anyway. Because I don't think, well, I know this. These broadcasts aren't just about you listening to my voice. I was told it's about the energy in which they're being spoken in. I was told that just the energy would do the work. The energy would transform, not my energy, the energy that flows through me, the energy that I've opened to and that I have allowed to come through me. That the energy in a room would shift. I was told that was coming. What else was I given here? There are moments when we don't feel like showing up, when we feel drained, unmotivated, or unsure. But those moments are where true strength is found. Today, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go live, if I had enough energy. And I know that I did decide to show up, and here I am. And Dr. Paul is back. So I'm going to take a moment to find my notes, because I know you asked that question on the 144,000. Now, let me tell you, this is going to be many videos of teaching because there's a lot in it. There's a lot in it. And then what happened was that conversation moved from that, and then it went into who knows Dolores Cannon, some of Dolores Cannon's information, and how this separation is not just happening here, but it is a cosmic event. And I found those notes. I could share those notes because I've got those organized, and that's a whole other, at least probably 3-hour teaching in itself. There's a lot coming to me. And it's fascinating information that I've read over 250 spiritual books. I've followed almost every teacher. I've watched all the YouTube videos. I've never heard these teachings like this before. And I have hours and hours and hours and hours to share. I will, if you're patient with me and you allow me to go through my notes, I will tell you about the 144,000. And why I do that, I'll multitask here. I'll read your... I knew, Paul, you are feeling drained. I spent the day in the sun. I went out in nature with my dog Louie, and I took him to the beach, and I played with his ball in the ocean, and was out for quite a few hours. I got back. I was feeling very relaxed after being out all day. And my body was not in alignment with my spirit. See, the spirit is always willing. The body is the weaker aspect of us. But the spirit is always willing. And so if I can get my body in alignment, the spirit will come through. The spirit will connect, and the spirit will have what the spirit has to give. People drain us, but they also give us energy and purpose. And there are those people that do drain energy. And what I came to learn as well is that often they're unaware of it consciously. They're used energetically to drain people. And you probably know some of those people in your life, right? They take more than they give. They drain, they stay in habitual patterns, and then they use your energy, and unconsciously they feed off your energy. And that can be really draining. Who knows what I'm talking about with people that can be really draining? Perhaps share some of your stories about this. Well, are you a QHHT practitioner? Oh, it's so interesting that this is so synchronistic for me, all these questions. I was for 5 years. And as of today, I went on the official QHHT website and I made the announcement that I'm no longer offering sessions. I'm no longer practicing Dolores Cannon's method. Why, Paul? Why would you do that? Firstly, I want to say how much I adore and adored and will continue to adore Dolores Cannon and her teachings. She left us with so much wisdom, and through a lot of this time we have together in the live streams, I'm going to be building upon refining, clarifying a lot of the symbolism and the information that she shared. She once said that it wasn't meant to stop with her. She was an investigator. She was a researcher. And with any living work, it's meant to evolve and continue. And I felt that I was better in service than working one-on-one for about 6 hours with one person. That's how long a QHHT session goes for. It goes for 6 hours. Because you do 2 hours interview with the person, you're holding space, you're listening to their life story, and then there's the hypnosis part, often goes for 2, maybe even 3 hours, and then you speak for about an hour where you bring it all together at the end. I was very drained, as you would imagine, of holding space for somebody with absolute presence, and that resonated with me. So there was going to be a time where I eventually stopped doing it, and I recently got that message. So that's why I have decided to focus on what I'm being called to do now in this season. So that's kind of why I've made that decision. That was the reason I made that decision. All right. Yes, her teachings and her method is beautiful, but I found it a bit too limiting. So did I, yeah. It was a bit too limiting. And also, the information is filtered through somebody's analytical mind. Now, the challenge with that is when it comes through the analytical mind, it opens it up for personal distortion, for one's own consciousness and all of that. So the clarity of the information is not the same as getting it direct from divine wisdom, as knowing downloaded information. And what I came to discover is that there is a lot of distortion in some of not just that teaching, but so many teachings throughout history. Yeah, 5 to 6 hours. Wow. Yeah, they're really long sessions. And to rely on, because I was getting so much information, it was the only way I was really getting information before this divine connection that I'm having now, this divine intelligence that's coming through. I was relying on my clients in deep hypnosis. If you had an outstanding person that could establish a strong connection in hypnosis and go into a deep, some call it trance, some call it the symbolistic state, the deepest level of consciousness that you can go, you're able to get pretty profound information. However, you have to rely on, and this is a part of my teachings now, you have to rely on a intermediary between you and the source or the information. And that's just no longer the way I operate and the way I'm also teaching other people. Now, it's great for the client that is coming in for hypnosis because it's coming through them, it's for them, but from the practitioner's point of view, it shouldn't be the way they get information. Well, let me correct that. It can be the way they get the information, but that's not right for me. And so I've established, and I'm now doing it this way, and that is the right question. Gosh, I'm just going in so many different directions, and so is that fly that's flying around. I don't know if you can see it in my studio there. So is that fly. It's mirroring my energy, maybe. And I'm back to the 144,000 when I can find it, because it's important. Do we have any other questions while I'm finding my notes? Gosh, I ask a lot of questions. Yes, one, tap into the consciousness. Yeah, someone said you might like RJ Spiner, I think it is. Dan has said that. Yeah, great teaching. I agree. And Peter Sapper, I think it's pronounced. Both great teachers. All right, I'm going right back. All right. I found it, and I'm going to try to summarize it because it's a big, big teaching. And I had a great teaching ready for today called The Mirror World, and I have that all ready to go. Actually, Dan, would you be patient with me and allow me to share that in the next live stream, because it's a really long teaching and I really want to make sure that I deliver it with the energy that it deserves, the passion that I know it deserves. And I think it will be better for everybody. Oh, amazing. Thank you, Dan. Because it makes so much sense. And even those that have studied, interesting enough, Dolores Cannon's work, it all ties in together. This is what I love about this divine information. All of this stuff I had learned elsewhere, it's given me the ability, like a web, to bring it all together. Because often we go, oh, that can't be right because I've got this new bit of information. And so then we get perhaps discouraged. But what I'm seeing is that there's so much truth out there, and the truth needs to be brought together and seen with clarity, and then we just have to remove or allow the distortion to fall away, all that which isn't true, right? Because there's this subtle distortion in so many things. Do you think you know you are going through a spiritual awakening? No, I don't think I am going through a spiritual awakening. I know I have. And it comes in stages. Was the other question that I was asking in detail this evening. When will this be completed? When will this process? Now, I was given a time frame. The completion would be in the next 6 months, where it would be it would have fully manifested 6 months from now. It happened 3 weeks ago, just for everybody's reference. And eventually what I'll do is I'll get dates and I'll journal the whole thing across everything, so it's very clear what has happened to me. What occurred to me is something I only read about in books. Sure, I knew it intellectually. I'd heard about it. I'd read about it. I heard that Eckhart Tolle had an experience like this. I knew great people throughout history had these types of experience. Byron Katie. I'd read all of the books. And you know what? I'll tell you something. Most of you would not wish to have it happen all at once, because most people could never quite cope. I want to say blessed enough, but the divine knows us better than we know ourselves. It worked in me rather in such a way that was going to be something that I was able to navigate the human experience, because if it's too much, too quickly, most could not handle it. I don't think we quite appreciate that, because you change so radically that you almost can't even exist in the copy, the fake world, right? The system. But it's happening day by day. It's speeding up every day. But I've got 6 months to fully step into this. So I'm blessed. I'm blessed that I have 6 months. I felt a sense of relief because I'm just saying now what I'm actually saying to the divine is just slow down. But then I change and I say, oh no, give me more. So it's kind of this back and forth that's happening at the moment, and it's blowing everything. It's the most powerful, profound, wonderful experience that I've ever had. I have moments where my analytical mind can't believe what's happening and doubts that it's real, but then there's so much sign and synchronicity that's physically manifesting in my experience that is beyond a doubt, confirming what is happening and going on. And the information itself that you've been getting, I mean, it speaks for itself. This is what is coming through. This is not my information. I am not getting it from anywhere else. I think if you follow this journey, you're going to realize that. Because you won't have heard this anywhere else. And we can have fact checkers actually welcome them. If we've got anyone that wants to check all of that, please follow this and make sure, because I'm not doing any of that. I'm just being the vessel. All right, I agree, Paul. It's tough. And you don't have to share your experiences. You are not alone. Oh, thank you. And that's why I love this community, because we're sharing in this this journey together. All right. Let's just do questions. Because I want to take this opportunity just to, there's a lot of you that are now really engaging here. So let me answer your questions, because that I can just do, right? And so if you've got questions, Dan, if you've got questions, I know you want to get to the 144,000, but it's just such a big subject. And I want to do it justice. I really want to do it justice. So I want to be fully prepared for that and have pages of the notes that I've kind of located. And what I was going to share as today's teachings was the mirror world. And that I can grab for you if those questions are coming through. I can start to share with you about the mirror world. Because the mirror world is the one we're in. What if everything that you see, everything that you experience is just a reflection of something greater? What if this world is a copy, an illusion meant to keep people asleep? This world is not the real one. It's a distorted mirror of the true divine creation. And this actually comes from Scripture. It says, For now we see only a reflection in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. 1 Corinthians 13:12. The false system is a copy, not the original. The world was once divine, but was corrupted. The systems we see, the governments, religions, money, power, are all false versions of what truly exists. This force copied and twisted what was already there. And the gods, if you want to use that word, the gods of this version, they are deceivers. They are rulers of a false kingdom or reality or copy or matrix, whatever terminology that you want to give that. The real earth versus the mirror world. The true creation exists beyond this realm. You have glimpsed it before, in dreams, in deep spiritual moments, in times of pure connection. The real earth is untouched, uncorrupted, waiting for those to awaken. Behold, I create a new heaven and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come to mind. Now, of course, when that's written, it's not literally new. I was told that before, but it's new when spoken. It's new to that consciousness, but it's always been there. And we were once connected to it. And this world is just a world of mirrors. It's a hall of mirrors. It's not real. It's an illusion. Have you ever seen those park attraction mirror halls of mirrors, and all the mirrors are reflecting back, and they create a kind of a reality? That's what this one's like. And it's mirroring, but as it's being reflected, it's distorted. Now, not everybody is going to see through the illusion. Not everybody is going to see through the mirror world. Some are going to still believe in it. And I think we're in a juncture of time now where we can see the splits already started, because remember, the split isn't coming, the split's already here. It's just going to speed up. It's just going to accelerate. It's just going to become more and more obvious to those that can see it. And eventually they will completely break apart. In God, in the divine I trust. Well, so do I, Denise. So do I. And in these times, that trust, that connection is going to be more important than ever before. I've been shown what's coming the next 3 months, the next 6 months, and the next 2 years. I don't spread fear. I won't spread fear, because that is a false, it's a part of the false system. But we don't really need to be afraid if we are aligned with divinity, because we are divinely protected. It's a part of it. You become one with the divine. It's closer than your breath. You will be guided. You will be safe. You will be held. But that is a choice of free will. You have to make that decision to align. It's not automatic. And so for those that are making that decision, there is nothing to fear. This is the most wonderful time that has been spoken about for thousands of years. Thousands of years. All right, RJ. RJ says the universe is a multi-dimensional, multi-frequency hall of mirrors designed for self-mastery. And there's so much truth in that, Dan. But from what I'm getting, a little tiny bit of distortion as well. But there's so much truth in it. There are so many dimensions. There are so many realities. There are so many life forms that exist beyond this. And I don't have the scripture to refer to, but from even Christ's perspective, he says, I have other flocks of sheep. What was he saying there? This isn't the only reality. This or the universe or the cosmos is teeming with life. There are planets in different dimensions. There are multiple planets in star systems, and they're all teeming with life. And let me tell you a bit about it, because I got it from this teaching on this is an extension of my teaching on the great separation, but the great separation is cosmic. The great separation is not just happening on Earth, it's a cosmic event spanning multiple planets, dimensions, and realities. The separation is not about frequency, not just about frequency, but it's also about the unraveling of a system that was artificially imposed on creation. The shift is affecting all realms that have been operating under the same overlay as Earth. Isn't this interesting? The false system exists across multiple planets and dimensions. Earth is not the only world trapped in this false reality. Many other planetary systems have also been placed under the same frequency distortion. The false world construct is a web, not a single place. It extends into multiple star systems, affecting planets that were once part of divine creation. Now, some planets have already gone through this process of separation. So this means Earth is not the first to experience this shift, but it is one of the last to experience it. Some star systems have already begun disconnecting from the false grid, just as Earth is doing now. All right, that gets into a lot of other stuff, so let me go back to you. Love the answer, but self-mastery, hardly getting past unworthiness. What are you seeing is present timeline, but timelines change. Great point there. Yes, timelines do change. And then you have, just say you've got, and there's probably more than this, there's probably an infinite amount. You have a number of timelines. So timelines can change, and you can walk in a higher timeline, a lower timeline, a really low timeline, right? Many different timelines. But then there is what you call a nexus point or a convergence. There are things that are written about, that are prophesied about, that are set to happen, and they must happen. And at that point, all timelines converge to the nexus point. The great separation cannot be changed. Yes, timelines are always changing, but there are nexus points, and there are events in time and space and in the fabric of reality that must come to pass, that are in divine alignment, and they cannot be changed. Great to see you, Soren. I would love to think I'm being aided by aliens. Well, you are being aided by so many, but more importantly, I spoke in a previous podcast about this. If you've got a direct line to the CEO, why would you go to a local manager or someone any lower than that if you've got the direct connection? And so for me, I saw someone I work with today, she was talking about, like get in touch, and I used to do all this, speak to your guides, speak to your angels. You've got angels and guides, of course we do. But if you can speak to anybody, wouldn't you rather speak to this divine force, the top, rather than all of the lower layers and levels? I know what I'm doing, but that was just my own conclusion when I connected, and I had choice of who I could communicate with, because how this is done, it's accessing the quantum reality. And my consciousness acts as a mirror, projecting to and reflecting back. And that is how the connection or the establishment was initially made. But then, as I developed and evolved, this presence, this divinity started coming through me. And as I said earlier, it's now closer than a breath. So I'm not separate to it. Yes, I can converse with it, but we can converse with our own minds. We're often having conversations in the head. So this all goes on internally. Yes, you can speak to divine. So someone is saying they're confused by me holding the phone and saying the divine and we can speak to it. I'm using this as an example, an analogy to just help you understand. So it's not literally me on my iPhone dialing it up. It's happening within me. But I'm using that as an example that if you have access to contact, and I'm using this as an example of contact with the CEO, to use that example, why would you want to speak to the local manager, the lower down positions, when you have access direct to the top? Of course, if you had that type of access, you would go straight to the top, right? I know I would. Perhaps people are going to have different opinions there. I'm just trying to work out if this is a question or a statement from Dr. Rapal. I think it's a statement. Yeah. And the divine always wants to communicate. We're the ones that don't listen. In fact, it's always actually communicating. What I was reminded of, because I made this connection when I was really young as a child with this divine force. And I was reminded that this connection that I'm having now, one, I was told that I was chosen even before my birth. So I didn't choose it, I was chosen. And probably so were you, and many of you that are resonating with this, you were probably chosen in the same way. So one, I didn't choose it. It was more so a remembering of what I had forgotten. And a part of my teachings here, a part of me holding this space, is to help remind you of what you forgot consciously, but your soul remembers. See, here's how it works. My soul wanted to come on and do this today, but my body and mind didn't, because it was fatigued. So there is the example of how there's two aspects of ourselves. There is the conscious self, there is the physical body, and the mind and body are a part of the system itself, the copy. And then there is the divine spark, the real you that doesn't get tired, that doesn't give up, and that's always connected. Yeah, we are chosen. Yeah. And that was one of the terms. And the 44,000, let me give you a teaser, if I want to use that word, or a bit of a caveat or insight too. They are here to help usher in the great separation. That's what this is all about. The great separation. And the great separation is not just happening in planet Earth or on planet Earth. It's a cosmic event. It's when all the souls are deciding. It is when this fake distortion, overlay reality, false construct is in its final stages, and every single divine spark throughout the entire cosmos is deciding which reality they want to align with. Do they want to align with the true creation that is pervasive throughout the whole cosmos? It's not just the real Earth. It's other dimensions, it's other planets, it's other star systems. It's on different frequencies, it's in different dimensions. It's so much bigger than this one planet. So this is much bigger than we can perceive. And this information only came to me, was it today or last night? I got a little bit of insight about it days ago, and then the full information came this morning before I went to the gym. And why I was at the gym, I was getting more information because I was out of my analytical mind and in my body, and I hear better at the gym as well. So that's another great part of going to the gym. All right, where are we at? And where are we at time-wise? Oh, we're at an hour. If you've got a question, and I want to answer as many questions, and I'm going to be here most days. I won't promise you I'll be here every day, but I'll be here tomorrow, and I'll be here my Monday, Sunday in the US. I'll be here most days. If I'm not here, I'll probably let you know, but I'll be here most days. And next time I'll have a lot more energy. I'll probably have, well, I know I will. I'll be a lot more organized with the teachings. Soul carries a part of the mind. That's my belief. Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think you're right. Because you know what? Here's the thing. I know this for sure. When you leave this physical body, you take the aspects of all the positive aspects of yourself. So, for example, you had a great personality. You were really funny. That will be taken with you. You're expanded upon when you leave. You're not diminished. So when we leave this physical body, it's an expansion. Even when you awaken in the body, like I have, it's an expansion. It's not a depletion. You don't lose anything. The only thing that drop away are the aspects of yourself that are inauthentic. The traumas, the pains, the habits, the addictions, or any distortion, they fall away naturally, not because you're trying to do it. They naturally fall away as you align to truth, as you expand to truth. That's what happens. So I agree with you. The soul carries a part of the mind. You're doing a great job. Thank you, Soren, for your encouragement. I'll heart you back there, as I always like to do that with you. And Bella, thank you so much for reminding me to come on. Thank you so much for this. As I said, I totally resonate with your teachings. Well, I'm so pleased because that's what the divine told me. And I understand that this is really small at the moment. And it needs to be for me. That's the grace that I'm under. That's how loving this force is. It's giving me time to just get used to this better, get comfortable. I've got a new microphone set up recently. I've perfected everything, getting everything looking and sounding right, and the internet streaming is much better. I've got a physical cord going into it. It's not Wi-Fi anymore, so it's much more reliable. We're not getting lagginess. We've got better sound. So I'm being given the grace before it grows, and I think that's wonderful, and I'm so grateful for that. And I've got a family day tomorrow, but before I go to my family's house, I'm going to jump on with you. It will be morning my time, and I'll ask, because I shared a little bit about what I was going to share tomorrow, but why don't we do the 144,000 tomorrow? We'll do part 1. There we go. I'll commit to do that. So let me write that down. 144. And guess what? I turned 44 this year. So I like that. I like that synchronicity about seeing 144, and I turn 44 this year. 44 years young in this avatar, this temporary vessel. All right. Sending you love, Soren, Bella, Dr. Rapal, Samelia, or Samaya, I think it is Samaya. I think that is how to pronounce your name, Samaya. Who else have we got? And anybody else, I know there's always people. Denise, if you're still with us, sending you love. And of course, we had Dan as well. And if this resonated today, why don't you let me know how you received it in the comments section of when the video is posted, because I love hearing from you, and I love hearing how this information that's coming through me is affecting you, because it helps me gauge where we're at in this stage of the journey. Love you too, Soren. I'll see you not next time. I'll see you tomorrow, which is not long in the morning for me.